step in. So yeah, it's something people should really, really pay close attention to. And if the banks don't want to lend money to other banks, what does it say about keeping your money within a banking system? What does it say about the systemic risks within the banking system itself? I think people should think about that as well. This is one of the things that we've talked about a lot on your show, is just how safe is the banking system with the change to Universal Commercial Code, with the great taking by David Rogers Webb, with being an unsecured general creditor over the FDIC limit. All of these things we've talked about, bail-ins versus bailouts, for a long time, this is how it would start. In essence, this is where the trouble starts before the stocks get wind of it, before the credit markets get wind, in my mind, beneath the surface of the financial system. Because over a 5-day stretch over the last 2 weeks, the Federal Reserve injected $125 billion into the repo market. And the popular talking heads would say it was to ease funding stress, as we saw in 2019 with the repo market problems, in 2008 with the fail of Lehman Brothers and the great financial crisis. But it's important to understand that $125 billion, especially over a few days, over a period of 5 days, is akin to crisis-like behavior. It's on par with what we saw when Lehman fell. It's on par to the 2019 blowout in the repo market. But let's first kind of try and dumb down what the repo market is. It's the plumbing of the financial system. And it's where banks, big banks, lend to each other overnight, literally overnight. And they do this to keep things flowing, if you will. Normally, this market, you never hear about it, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's quiet. It means everything's working. But when the Fed steps in with huge amounts of cash, mind you, typically, if there's no stress, you won't see much of any movement in the repo market or usage of it. If there's a little bit of stress, you might see 3, 4, 5 billion put into it or trading in it. If there's moderate stress, maybe 10, 12 billion. At 125 billion, it's the equivalent of hearing loud banging noise every time you turn your water on in the walls. Something's not right. Something's not flowing right. But what makes this concerning and very different than what we saw in 2008 and 2019 is that in 2008 and 2019, it was an issue of liquidity or lack thereof. Now, this is not a we're out of money problem. Today, the big banks that would trade in the repo market actually have twice the reserves that they had during the 2019 repo crisis. And in this environment, the Fed would rarely, if ever, inject liquidity into the overnight market when reserves are this high. In this environment, repo injection should be near zero because the banks have enough money to trade with one another back and forth. It's just overnight exchanging collateral, typically treasuries, sometimes mortgage-backed securities or whatnot. But this isn't about money. It's about trust or lack thereof. And in essence, then again, banks are looking at each other and saying, not a chance in the world am I going to borrow anything or lend anything to you, or not even for one night. And because I'm not sure you're going to pay me back tomorrow morning. And the reason this matters is because you typically only see repo market stress right before market corrections. And that's an ominous sign. It's an ominous sign in that this is all about the lack of trust. And when the most well-informed traders on the planet, the very, very large commercial banks, are saying, you know what, I'm not lending my money into this system. I'll just park it at the Fed instead. I am not going to do it. And you start to see the overnight lending system dry up. It portrays, I think, serious fractures within the entire system and is far more concerning than just a lack of liquidity. It's a lack of trust, which is far more systemic and troubling. So, I mean, the banks are trading with other banks, smaller, regional maybe, and also with large hedge funds. And even though, even though you would think that this would be something that should be easy peasy, it's not. And because now it's a lack of trust, it's also a lack of faith in collateral. We've been seeing a lot of subprime and mortgage-backed securities, not subprime, but mortgage-backed securities rather, used as collateral. Now, you would do that after you've already, I mean, you're doing that because you don't have treasuries or you don't want to trade your treasuries. You're trying to give the collateral that is less than perfect, so they don't trust the collateral and or they don't trust the partners. That is not a good thing because you're trading overnight. You're talking the most liquid, safe, secure trading platform on the planet. You can't get more conservative than trading overnight with the big banks and using a collateral that is, either mortgage-backed securities, which are bundled, or the treasuries. And this portrays that the system itself is rotting from underneath. And the big players know this. It's concerning, should be less concerning to me than a lack of trust. Trust is a hard thing to get back, and the people at the top see the picture better than anybody. They understand exactly just what kind of clothing the emperor is wearing, I guess you could say. And for them to not trade in what is the most conservative, easy trade you'll ever find overnight because they don't trust the system, it's an indictment not just of the trading partners, but of the liquidity or the solvency of the trading partners, and also the value of the collateral. And I think these are two very, very dangerous topics when you talk about what it means. It means that the Fed will typically in this environment be forced to come in and intervene whether they want to or not. And when you already have inflation running much higher than the CPI tells us, we can all feel it with the grocery bills and all of our other bills and our paycheck not going as far. It could really be if you will, the match that lights the fuse, not only to inflation, but the systemic problems that could chain, domino all the way down if they don't step in. So yeah, it's something people should really, really pay close attention to. And if the banks don't want to lend money to other banks, what does it say about keeping your money within a banking system? What does it say about the systemic risks within the banking system itself? I think people should think about that as well. This is one of the things that we've talked about a lot on your show, is just how safe is the banking system with the change to Universal Commercial Code, with the great taking by David Rogers Webb, with being an unsecured general creditor over the FDIC limit. All of these things we've talked about, bail-ins versus bailouts, for a long time, this is how it would start. In essence, this is where the trouble starts before the stocks get wind of it, before the credit markets get wind of it, before the media gets wind of it. It starts right here because you're talking the most well-informed traders step in. So yeah, it's something people should really, really pay close attention to. And if the banks don't want to lend money to other banks, what does it say about keeping your money within a banking system? What does it say about the systemic risks within the banking system itself? I think people